Okay, so I decided to do something a little bit different with all of the new players coming in and players returning. I wanted to make a top 5 video that I've been wanting to make for a long time, instead of just a classic rant video. I'm still going to be pretty much doing the same thing, except for now I'm going to be putting it in top 5 format, and I'm going to be rapid firing these things, okay? What I'm going to be doing today is talking about how much I hate when my NPC teammates, or sorry, not how much I hate, the things I hate that my NPC teammates do, or that my randoms do, sometimes even the people that I do it with. The things that I hate the most about people that play the tank role, okay, is pretty much what it's going to be. And I'm going to use a couple suggestions specifically from a post that I did about the problems that you have with certain players in certain roles. It's on my channel. Go check it out, because I'm going to do support and a DPS video. But this one's going to be about tanks, okay? And the first one, this was the most commented thing on the post. It was, when your tank feeds. That is the most annoying thing that people think that comes from a random tank, and I couldn't agree more. But I also have a bit of a caveat, right? Because I believe that no matter what, when you see your tank dying, if they're trying to play the role appropriately, it's almost always going to look like they are feeding, because they should be taking the space and holding the space that's in front of everyone, or that's to a certain spot. Wherever the other team is going, your tank should be attempting to stop them from doing something like that, right? So it's always going to look like your tank is feeding. But, I mean, you just gotta admit that it seems like whenever you get that, like, couple games in a row of just the same type of tank player just running in for no reason and then blowing up and feeding. And I gotta admit, I play a pretty aggressive tank. Sometimes that's me. But, you know, that's just the first one. That'll be the most, the quickest one that I have here. Right? Then I have eats all the heals. And what do I mean by that? I mean that it's kind of a support problem, so this is also a support issue, but whenever the tank is just constantly taking damage to the point where the support players literally can do nothing but force their heals up his asshole. Like, that's all that they can do, because the tank either, 1, doesn't take cover, or 2, doesn't know how to play the role, so he's just constantly taking damage. So, like I said, this can be a support issue as well, but I'm just gonna make it a tank issue. All right, and number 3 and number 2 are kind of put together, but I'm gonna do one before the other just because one bothers me more than the other. So when the tank only swaps, right? Like, let's say they come out on Winston and the enemy team comes out on a counter and they swap once. That's fine. But then let's say they still die into the counter. So let's say they still die into Roadhog. Then they swap into their own, like, serious counter, and they're on Malga, and that doesn't work. And then they get maybe 70 to maybe like 50 alt charge, and then they're like, okay, well, this still isn't working. Maybe I'll mirror Roadhog now. Doesn't work. Maybe I'll go back to, you know what I'm saying? Or now I'm gonna go to Orisa. And it's like, there comes to a point where you just need to give us, like, a flow. You know what I mean? Like, you need to make it so that we in the game can play alongside you. Not only that, but, like, there's team compositions, and then there's just base whether or not, like, your tank fits with your supports, your DPS, whatever. Like, it doesn't always matter about what you are playing and versus what you're playing into. Yes, the tank is the most important role, but I think people take that way too literally sometimes. Like, you're I don't know, I don't want to say it's like they're high on their own farts or whatever, because they're not. They're obviously the most important role, but when you're on tank, I think some people just overvalue how good they are, right? Because there are still players, there are still ways to compensate for a tank diff. Now, it's not that easy in 5v5, but you can still make it happen. It's still possible. That's why you have to, you know, enjoy Overwatch to a certain extent, because things like that are always possible. But I do think tanks, for whatever reason, either have way too little confidence and they keep swapping, or they have way too much confidence. And that's what I'm gonna get into with number 2, is when tanks force a mirror. Like, when your tank comes out and they're on Ramatra and the other team is on Reinhardt, bang, perfect. You're probably gonna win now. Like, you're probably, there's more than a likely chance that you will win now, because your tank should beat the other tank. Your tank counters the other tank, right? Like, that is just the way it should work. But then, for whatever reason, your tank decides if he like dies early in a fight or whatever, even though we just won the fight, he's gonna swap over to Reinhardt. Or even if we lose the fight, they just decide, oh, it's time to go Redditor mode. It's time to push up my glasses and say, I have been called, and I'm gonna throw your game now, team. Because it feels like it happens way more than usual, or it happens in Doom mirrors all the time, like all the time. There's just a player that comes out on Doom, and our tank is on Orisa, and we're like, that should be fine. We're all good. Nope. Nope, fucking Feeder McGee over here on Orisa decides, oh, I'm probably better at this guy than Doomfist, even though I have only 25 hours on Doomfist, and the guy that I'm facing has, you know, is a level 200 mastermind. Like, it's always on my team too, especially with the Doomfist. Like, there's no reason. You don't need to mirror Doomfist. You're not that guy, pal. The other Doomfist probably isn't that guy either, because most Doomfists are crap. But, like, you're definitely not that guy. Specifically because you're on my team, so you're probably not that guy, pal. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's honestly a classic. It's so obvious that this shit happens, and it's annoying. Sometimes I do it on Roadhog, but it's like, you know, whatever. Or I do it on Mauga, too. I don't know, it pisses me off. And it's always with crap heroes. Like I said, with Reinhardt. Reinhardt's actually okay right now. And Doomfist and whatever. It's just, it happens way too much. And number one for me has bothered me to no end for so long. Even before I actually got, you know, relatively good at Overwatch. I'm not great at Overwatch, but even before I like hit GM and all that and started taking Overwatch really seriously, and I was just kind of always dicking around on DPS, I hated watching my tanks not take space. Or better yet, I'm just gonna lay it out flat, not tank, right? Not play the role of tank in any sort of way. I hate when you're the solo tank, or especially when you're like a Reinhardt, or you're whatever, and you decide to go off on your little adventure, or you decide that you're gonna sit and hide behind your Ana or next to your Ana the whole game. These kind of things piss me off to no end, and I really don't know why, but like watching a Reinhardt stand there with his shield up for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever, you know, Overwatch actually goes by pretty quick. So, like, watching them just stand by for, like, a minute and do nothing while the rest of us die, even if we get a pick, like let's say, like, your Genji or your Reaper, whatever, go out and they get a pick, and you just stand there with your shield up next to your Ana because you think that that's why you're winning, because you just stood there and did nothing. And every time you put your shield down, you would do it when you're not behind cover, so you get blown up, and then you go online to Reddit and say, oh my gosh, playing tank is so boring. I don't get to do anything. You know, I have to stand there and hide behind cover, and sometimes I have to shield my team. You mean you have to play tank? You mean you have to play the role that you selected? Look, I understand that that's not the entirety of what tanking is meant to be. I get that. But you are meant to be a giant meat shield, if not having an actual shield, to protect not just yourself, but other people too. That is a thing. That is what you are supposed to do. You are pretty much the focal point of the game. And that leads to another point that I was going to make, is I hate when tanks don't play the point. Like, when all's what they do is go looking for frags. In quick play or whatever, it's fine, but, like, there will be tanks that just complain about, you know, nothing getting done when they just aren't playing the tank role. You're just playing a large DPS. Even Roadhog, you can actually tank for your team. You can hold space. Just don't, you know, click hook on cooldown, and teams will have to, like, respect the fact that you have hook. That's how Roadhog takes space. That's how Roadhog tanks. It's just, welcome to the game. Learn it, because your role is super important. I have to admit that this, like, the things that I'm saying right now are the reason why people also don't play tank, because there's so much on them. Like, there's so much, you know, pressure to do and play correctly that people don't want to play tank. I get that. I mean, DPS is just an easy role. All what you have to do is go looking for kills, and you're fine. Right? Like, you don't have to worry about anything other than mostly killing people. I think actually that's pretty much hit scan, but we don't need to talk about how hit scan is easy as shit anyway. But like, you know, unless you're playing like a character, like in my opinion, like a Reaper, a Tracer, a Genji, whatever, and you're supposed to be making your own space and you know, doing whatever you can, I just think that mostly DPS is an easy role. So I understand why people don't like playing tank for that matter. But when you play tank, man, like, you have to tank. That is just how it is. It is the unfortunate reality of the game. And the reason that I'm even saying this, because it sounds like weird that I keep flip-flopping, but the biggest reason I say this is I always see comments in my videos or comments under TikToks or in Reddit threads, whatever. I always see, like, players that play tank that are, you know, like, especially like they're always like a Reinhardt player, or sometimes they're a Mantra player. Zarya, I see a lot. Like, they just don't want to be playing tank, but they love the aesthetic of tank. They just want to be the big guy out there and feel invincible, which is what 5v5 already affords you. Now just do the one thing that you're supposed to do and walk forward. That's it. That's all you have to do, is just step forward half the time on tank, and you're getting more value than most morons that play the role already. So just walk forward, sit on the point, and kill anything that gets within your tiny radius, because nothing else can kill you other than the other tank. And you're going to complain about your supports. Yes, these are outliers. This is not what happens every single time. And you know it as a tank player. I know it as a tank player. Sometimes I sit there and I'm like, what do I do? Like, I literally just get overwhelmed, and I'm willing to admit this. I know that other fucking morons won't be able to admit this, but I just, like, sometimes I get overwhelmed on tank, and I kind of just, like, go stiff, or I kind of end up wandering off to the side. That's something I brought up in the beginning of this little section, but I should have said more. Like, sometimes I just end up wandering away from the center of the point, because I'm too scared to stand in the middle, subconsciously, or, like, so either way, I'm losing the tank battle there. I'm not playing tank. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like anytime I get like a support player that plays tank, like the best Kiriko that I've ever played with, you know, his name is Freddy the Kiriko. I play with him all the time. Shout out, go watch his Twitch if you want. He's in my bio. Like, this guy is like he's an aggressive Kiriko. He gets in your face. He wins one-on-ones with like everyone in the game. But then he loves to play Mauga, and he'll like just hang out around the corner. You know what I mean? He just like plays Mauga like a support, and it's not his fault, because I play Mauga like a DPS and run in like an idiot and end up getting murdered, right? So, but it's, I don't know why people, and this isn't specifically talking about support players anymore, this is back to tank players. I don't know why tank players love the aesthetic of tanking while just not wanting to do, like, what you're supposed to do. You don't like tank. Just admit that, and then we can move on. If you complain about having to hold your shield up, you don't like tank. Admit that. Move on, and then we're done. But yeah, you guys let me know. This is a weird video. I don't really know what else I can say, I guess. But we end on a terrible Reaper Wall, so